He's one of the classiest people I've ever met in my life. An absolute gentleman, a leading light in the rich tradition of spinners coming from India. My guest today on Spin Talks is the one and only Dilip Doshi. Dilip bhai, welcome to Spin Talks. I think I'm actually looking forward to having this chat with you because every time we meet, we end up talking spin, but that is on a very informal basis. But this time I get an opportunity to pick your brains in a very formal way. Welcome to Spin Talks.
Thank you very much, Kartik. It's a pleasure to be with you. You have given an introduction. Now I have a tough task living up to it. But thank you for your kind words.
No, you don't have to live up to it because you are the way you are, and the way you are is very classy. So that's absolutely fine. You don't have to live up to anything else.
That's very good.
Dilip bhai, yours has been a very, very interesting and a very intriguing life, journey, career. Just born in the era or the year of the independence, India's independence. How was life? Born in Rajkot, possibly played a bit for Saurashtra, but then all your life from Bengal. It's been a very interesting one. Can you just talk us through it?
Okay, that's great. So jogging down the memory lane is always nice. I was born in Rajkot, but I didn't live there at that time. So my father was based in Calcutta then. He went, after being a professor of economics at Elphinstone College in Mumbai, he also grew up in Rajkot. Then he went to Calcutta for looking for greater opportunities. And so I actually grew up in Calcutta. And actually, I'm glad that I grew up in Calcutta. And I'm saying that with a lot of romantic memories because Calcutta in those days was the capital of India. Soon after the British left. Commercially, culturally, in any way you say, Calcutta was way ahead of the rest of the country. So I was very happy to grow up in a city which was full of Maidaans and parks. And what you see is only a very distant memory of what Calcutta used to be. So the schooling was of the highest quality also. And the college education that I acquired, I think as you learned, the great Einstein has said that school and college only teach you to how to write, read, and count. But life teaches you the true education. So I can say that's so true.
So, as you said, you only grew up in Bengal, or Calcutta to be very precise, and not in, but how did you end up going back to Saurashtra and playing there for a bit? Can you talk us through your early life per se and how you got into cricket, how you got into spin bowling?
Okay. Now, it's a very good question to answer because it brings back a lot of memories as well. I went to Rajkot every year because that was our hometown where my grandparents lived. My mother's and father's side, the family lived there. So we had 3 months vacation in a year. Every vacation was spent in Rajkot. And one of the great things was, ever since I can remember myself, I wanted to bowl spin. And I was spinning the ball only. And my parents, my father and my chacha, my father's younger brother, they were quite responsible in encouraging me. And as luck would have it, both were left-handers. And my father played school cricket with Vinu Ankad in Rajkot in Saurashtra. And he also played for Gujarat College when he was studying law at Ahmedabad. So he was a cricketer of a certain level. But he was a scholarly gentleman. So he got into different things of life. And they encouraged me a lot to enjoy the game and keep playing the way I like.
So would you say that you had a formal coach or it was just, again, self-taught for you because you said this is what you wanted to do, which was spin bowling?
Yeah. No, there was no coaching at all. In fact, the opponent that I had every day was my chacha who batted left-handed. And I found it very difficult to get him out. Sometimes he would say, okay, that's enough. Now we can. I said, no, I haven't got you out. Till I get you out. Persistence was my nature from the very beginning. So, and I possibly think I was a natural spinner of the ball because I do not remember ever having been taught anything. And I always played with a cricket ball.
Okay.
Even at home, when I was 6 and 7, I was playing with my younger brother Naren with a cricket ball. I never played with a tennis ball or in those days a rubber ball or nothing. So the gripping came naturally to me. And in those days, the fingers were small when you're growing up.
Correct.
And the ball was slightly smaller. I remember my uncle picking it up. But in order to spin, you naturally adjusted and what you call street smartness you learn. So I held the ball like this. The classics, as I understand the grip, is like this. But I always held the ball like this.
Yeah,
And
very
my ring,
Harbhajan-like. Very Harbhajan-like.
and I held the ball like this, and it never touched the palm. It always was in the finger, because if it touches the palm, you will not be able to give it a rip. And that you learned by practice and by intuition, possibly. Nobody taught us.
Well, that's very interesting, because this is what I love about all these chats that I have with spinners. And I realized one thing, Dilip bhai, that yes, you can have a coaching manual and you can have a way you're supposed to grip the ball. But like for us, we were taught, as you know, by Bishan Bedi, for us, the grip was like this. And my thumb was always touching, and a bit of my, the crescent of the palm, as I would say here, is always touching it, because then it gives a lot of control. That's how we were taught. That's how I was always taught. And I think me, Maninder Singh, Rahul Sangvi, all of us were taught that way. But I realized one thing, that grip is such an individual thing. And again, you're saying that you've never been coached. So I think that was so individual to you, and which has worked wonders over so many years.
Yes. So I must tell you something about this now we're talking about that. I once had an opportunity when during my first trip to England, I went to Sussex and I got very friendly with Tony Greig. He became a very dear friend. And when he got a call to play for England for the first time, and he was South African, but he qualified to play for England, we went together. I went with him to watch his debut match at Manchester. So we were on the train, and we were having breakfast, and in walked the great Jim Laker. He was also on the train, and he was one of the commentators in the game. And I must tell you that looking at Laker, even while I was sitting, my knees went like jelly, because I had the highest respect for the man from reading about him and hearing about him from his fellow cricketers, like Indian cricketers who had played with him, you know. So and that's the time when Greggy told Jim, introduced me and said, interesting, Jim, this lad spins a ball in a different way. His grip is very different. So Laker was a great student of the game. He gave me the Jaffa orange and said, show me. So I went like this, and he said, but then how do you spin it? So what I did was, I turned the Jaffa like that, and it went spinning in the air. So he said, that's very interesting, because he said, we are always held the fingers of the ball like this with the index finger.
Yeah, correct.
What I felt was, doing that, the fingers became quite tight.
Tight, okay.
Tight. And holding the way that I did kept my fingers supple in order to impart the spin for a longer period of time. And it also gave the stamina. So of course, this is highly individual. And therefore, there is no one particular trick which everybody should follow. And I'm using a strong word. I dislike coaches who actually insist on doing things because that is the only way they know. I would like to see a youngster. I would say, okay, you spin the ball. I want to see you spin it. Whichever way you go, I don't care. As long as you spin the ball, that's the result I want to see. But once you teach a youngster, and he's always in the awe of a coach, because he always looks up to the coach, and even if he's able to do something naturally and well, he will always have second thought because the coach told him something different. So this is where I feel that sometimes lack of coaching is a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, you say that, Dilip, I'm in complete agreement with you that you don't try and tweak something which comes naturally to somebody. But say if somebody came with zero knowledge of spin bowling, It's like you have to teach him everything from A to Z. So would you still say the same? Would you still say, oh, then you have to obviously tell him that this is how you grip the ball, isn't it?
No. Then I would say, why would you want to spin? So have you ever spun a ball? Because you don't suddenly get up one morning and say, I want to spin the ball. I want to become a spinner. Because you must have done something to feel good about it. So even if he's done it in the house with his sister or brother or mother, it doesn't matter. So I would ask him to show me why you want to become a spinner. If he does it and if he turns the ball, that's fine. So I think it's very rarely a child comes and tells us or you, I don't know with your experience, has anybody ever walked up to somebody and said, I want to become a spinner, but I don't know how to hold the ball? That's almost impossible. So there must be
I think
some way.
I am a case like that. I am a case
but
like
no,
that.
you were a seamer. I remember reading.
Yeah, I was a seamer, so I didn't know anything
you're
about
not a novice. No, but you're not a novice with the novice with the cricket ball. So you were basically a bowler who changed. So Sir Garfield Sobers started as a left-arm orthodox spinner. Then he became a seamer, and later on, and he would adjust to anything. So again, it's the ability to adjust. And similarly, this child who came in, you tell him, okay, now you got the ball, you want to become a spinner, try to spin the ball, and you watch him. Then later on, after watching what he's doing, you can impart some knowledge to him. That's how I would look. But I've never been in a position like that, so I must admit that it's a little bit of gray area for me.
Yeah, again, going back to what you mentioned about being such a natural spinner and the fact that everything was self-taught for you, would you say that it has changed, your action has changed, your beliefs have changed over the years, or from the time you started, the things which you must have learned about your own action, about your own game?
Yes, I never, the days when I grew up, nobody took photographs. The photographs were taken, but they were never taken in a way that you could see your action. I remember bowling in front of a mirror as a child, and then when I grew up in college also to do shadow practice. That's the best I remember seeing myself. Then you relied on people, and I relied on the result also. So if you're spinning the ball and whatever you're trying to do is giving you the results, and if you're commanding respect, then you're on the right track. And similarly, when you do things like in that age and era, you had to ask and rely on people. And people who knew your bowling probably better than you did because they've been watching you for a while. So you had to rely on such people, teammates. Maybe they never became top cricketers, but they had the love and the knowledge of the game. So there was some college friend who could always tell me that sometimes lazily your hand was not in the right place. And it meant a lot to me because you trusted them. So this is how trial and error you judge and you come to become a finished product.
Your first class debut was 68, which means that you were possibly 21, 22 by that point, Dilip bhai. Did you play any junior cricket? Did you have any access to any junior cricket, or was it just first class cricket straight away?
No, I was playing a lot of cricket, the nondescript cricket, as you would say. So I didn't go for trials to Bengal schools or nothing like that. I was playing in the Maidan. And actually, it helped me a lot in the second year because I realized that it helped me hone my skills. You become street smart, how to get people out. And I remember we used to win a lot of games in the Maidan. And actually, at some stage, nobody wanted to play with us because we were always beating the others. And I just felt that helped me sharpen my competitive skill, pitching against a batsman and playing that. So my first representative cricket, because I was always since a child, I was dreaming to play for India. When I joined St. Xavier's College in Calcutta, and I went to the college nets, as luck would have it, the selector, who was a former college captain and a Bengal player, he asked me to bat. I just said, but he said, no, just bat up. So I batted up, and I was a decent batsman, useful batsman. So he selected me as a batsman. Then at the end of the selection, I walked up to him. The gentleman's name is Shivaji Ray. And I said, Shivaji, but I'm a left-arm spinner. And you selected me as a batsman. How will it work? He said, but you're batting all right. I said, yes, I can bat all right, but that's not my forte. So he asked me to bowl to him. And then he said, yes, you are a left-arm spinner. So that was a little bit of that was my first introduction to a representative level. And he was a much respected figure in Calcutta cricket, very knowledgeable. And so later on, you went to the college team and you won the Calcutta University Championship, which we did very often. And later on, I played for Calcutta University to win Rohinton Baria for our Calcutta University for the only time. And so it was great time to hone your skill and pitch your talent against the others and go across India to play other universities. Very exciting time.
Dilip, everybody knows that you were possibly one of those 4 cricketers who made your Test debut after the age of 30. But how was it? How were those 10 or 12 years when you had to ply your trade in first-class cricket? I think you played county cricket, and I think for such a long time, firstly for Nottinghamshire and possibly the odd year for Warwickshire later on in life. How was it? How were those 10 years? How was it being behind the quartet as they were the giants of Indian spin bowling at that point of time?
Although, as you rightly said, I made my debut when I was almost 32. At that stage, I was the first and only bowler to do that.
Yeah.
And later on, 2 more came. And Clary Grimmett, the late Clary Grimmett, took his second 100 wickets. So he had got 216 after the age of 30, but he had already played before. So okay. I was the, and I didn't realize till a friend and a cricket writer called David Frith, he told me that I have this kind of a unique distinction, if you call it, or happen to be inheriting that kind of thing. So, but one didn't think about it, you know, Kartik. I think what was important is when I played my first Ranji season for Bengal in 68, 69, to be precise, we went to the Ranji finals and played against Bombay then at the CCI. And what happened was I had impressed all the critics in India because we beat then Mysore at a square turning track against Prasanna and all these things. Subramaniam was leading then, Budhi Kundran, they had a great team anyway. Vishy was there. Vishy had also made his debut, Vishwanath. And we beat them to go to the final. So there was a lot of nice appreciation for my bowling in the Indian press. And as luck would have it, it propelled me on the lips of many people that there is a youngster who is also going to challenge being in the team at some stage. That is how even Tiger Pataudi said then. He singled out Vishwanath, myself, and Eknath Solkar as the bright future of Indian cricket. So it was very satisfying after a long wait. I mean, I played that late because I wasn't getting, I'm not going to get into local politics. It's too petty to get into that. But I had to wait patiently, you know. I think you got to be patient to get your break, and I was lucky to get it.
Even to play first-class cricket, you mean?
Yeah. Even to play university cricket.
Okay.
So I have gone through walls all my career, which I have no complaints. Maybe it has made me what I am. So I thank all those people to put obstacles, and I'm not saying in a sarcastic manner. A lot of obstacles came, and either you had to cry and sit back, or you had to say, no, I'm going to cross this. And I was determined. So fortunately, where I got. Then I was able to go and play cricket in England. And this is where the impartiality or the true love of the game in England came across to me. I was an unknown collegian going to England to play cricket, and Sir Garfield Sobers was hinted by Jack Bond, former Lancashire captain. The then Lancashire captain called Jackie Bond, he saw me practice at Old Trafford. I went because of a friend there, and it appears that I impressed them. And Jack Bond then informed Sir Garfield Sobers because they were looking for an overseas player at Nottinghamshire. And the rule was to have two players who can play in the 11 also, but you can't have a third player in the club. Okay. So it was not that you could have plenty of players in your team, overseas players, and you could play only two. Later on, the rule became more relaxed and you could have three. But originally, when I'm talking about in 72, so every place was taken by international stars. So only people who were following Indian cricket keenly knew about my name. And there were a handful, obviously. So that's the fairness I got from England and English cricket system. They really loved the game. So Sir Garfield Sobers came to watch me play a club game when I was playing as a professional, and asked me to join his club next year because I had to qualify and all that kind of thing, residential related. So I had to play some games for the club before being qualified. So I was really grateful to the system. But imagine, actually my greatest hero in cricket is Sir Garfield Sobers. And to be recommended by him to his club was like a dream come true, like a privilege. And so that's how I got my breakthrough. And I'm very happy that at least I was able to play cricket around the year, play with the best cricketers in the world, because English county cricket was the place where everybody really wanted to go, be it South African, New Zealander, Australian, Indian, Pakistanis. Of course, Sri Lanka wasn't there at that time, including people who probably we have not even heard of. Very good first-class cricketers from other countries. They also got an opportunity. So I just felt that there was a lucky break.
There are two in the same room with regards to Sir Garfield Sobers, and I was going to get there because, look, I started playing the game only because of Sir Garfield Sobers. That's why when you mentioned I used to bowl seam and then bowl spin, which never spun. Having played with, that was initially, Dilip, before I learned how to grip the ball and turn the ball, but that was initially. You mentioned Sir Garfield Sobers, and I know you've been in England for what, more than 30 odd years, and the person you are, I think I count myself lucky to be talking to you because you've got only celebrity friends or friends who are like the Mick Jagger type, Dilip, right? No, I'm not pulling your leg. I'm not pulling your leg here.
No.
No, so Sir Garfield Sobers, what a personality. I think for every one of us, Don Bradman obviously was the greatest, but to do everything and the ease with which he did, bowl fast, bowl spin, stand at slips, bat anywhere he wanted, Chinaman, keep wickets. I think it must have been an absolute dream for you to be playing alongside him.
Yes, I think I had to bite my finger to believe what was happening. And what I felt about Gary Sobers is I saw him as a 10-year-old in Calcutta in 1958 when Rohan Kanai made 256 and Sobers made a quick fire 100. We didn't even realize when he came in and he got out. He just made a quick 100. And he impressed me such a lot with his the ease with which he played and he bowled, that at that time, he was not considered in 1958 to be what he became after 60s. But he got my fancy. I mean, I could look at him and his Indian version, who I really admired, was Salim Durrani.
Yeah.
So to give you an example, my favorite Indian cricketer when I grew up was Salim Bhai, undoubtedly. And Sir Garfield Sobers, till date, remains my all-time favorite cricketer. Now, but I must tell you something, what you mentioned. Sir Donald Bradman happens to be the greatest batsman who has ever lived. And talking to friends who you will also know, I'm talking to Ian Chappell and Greg Chappell, who also have been very good friends with Sir Gary. And they were mentioning in a discussion some years back when I was with them, that Gary is the greatest batsman they have ever seen, because none of them saw Sobers. It is well before our time. So, and in my humble opinion.
They mean Don Bradman, not Sobers.
No, Sobers. Sobers is the best they have seen, because we have not seen Bradman. So we can only, so Ian was saying, like Greg, that he thinks Sobers could only be next to Bradman as a batsman, because he is the best that we have seen. And I still maintain that. Is the ease of play, the time that he had, and the least fuss he made with everything he did, so naturally, so athletically, and so gracefully. Believe me, I think it's a pity that there are not too many tapes or not too many camera work that can show the modern youngsters and even the modern day great players. They could learn a lot from them. And don't forget, he never wore a thigh pad in his life. We talk about armors today, but he never even wore a thigh pad. So something that you look up, and I was feeling very lucky to be alongside him in the North's dressing room.
You mentioned your grip, and you're a self-taught man. What were your variations? Because today, and I say, you've been with Bishan Baji as well, and they always make fun of these dusras, teesras. So what were your variations as a left-arm spinner?
Okay, so let's put some things straight. I think 98% of bowling, or even 99, is your stock ball, in my view.
Yeah.
And in our category, Kartik, you and I, as a left-arm spinner, is spinning away, pegging away. In my case, I used to bowl on the stumps and make the ball leave the batsman. So I believed in a wicket-to-wicket line. And as I bowled close to the stumps, I felt that I had a chance to get the batsman out. Now you look at the stock ball. Today, very few spin bowlers are mastering the stock ball, which is 98% of your bowling. The only classic spinner that I see who is trying to do that today is Nathan Lyon, who in my view is a classic off spinner and is possibly, or rather easily, the best spin bowler in the world today, in my view. What we have to do is, the variations come automatically with every delivery, as you well know, that every delivery is bowled with a different energy. The parabola will vary. After pitching, the ball will behave differently irrespective of your control. These are natural phenomena of the game. And the wicket offers us different purchase or lack of purchase every time. So that automatically becomes a variation. And I think the modern obsession, if I may say that, with the dusras and whatever they call, is crazy in my view. Because what that has done to the bowlers is they've lost the sight of the fact that the main ball, so stock ball, is no more in total control of them. And this is where I feel that there is the coaches or the captains or whoever is involved in the game must recognize this and say, I'll give you a small example on this. The great Dennis Lillee, he came to Calcutta for a double wicket tournament in 1985. And some of the cricketers who were also playing asked Dennis that, why don't you bowl the off cutter as well? And Dennis told them that, boys, if I try to bowl an off cutter, I will lose my main bowling action because the action has to become different and the whole wrist movement has to be different. And I will not be able to bowl my wicket taking delivery. Now that said a lot for a great bowler like Dennis Lillee,
Yeah.
because he said that the focus has to be on your main strength, which is why you are where you are. So my advice to any youngster who is learning or who is even established, that focus and master your main delivery. The variations will come naturally without your even having to try.
Yeah. It's a great point you make. And you mentioned 80 or 90% of your bowling was your stock delivery. Nathan Lyon, I think, only bowls 100% stock delivery. And I think he is
good for him.
Yeah, no, he doesn't. He doesn't try any leg cutter, or he just bowls classical off spin, ball after ball after ball. And there are so many times when he is tired or whatever, the ball, as you rightly said, the pitch offers variation. But why is this obsession? Why do you feel is this obsession? You've been a great student of the game. You watch everything. Is it that these kids are byproducts of modern times? In the same light, we can also say that Nathan Lyon is also playing at the same time. It's not as if Nathan Lyon is playing in a different era. But why is it that people are losing stock of the stock delivery?
Okay. One of the other bowlers who was extremely good as an off spinner was Graham Swan, I remember, of England. He was also an outstanding classic off spinner. And I remember him bowling mainly his stock ball. Now, what has happened is a lot of the modern spinners have come up from the ranks of T20s and ODIs and the limited overs. So their task becomes bowling 4 overs or maybe 10 overs if they're lucky to play the ODIs. So then what happens is they are used to bowling differently as opposed to being grown up in bowling first-class cricket and the proper game. So their outlook and the mentality becomes very different. Here, they don't have to get the batsman out. Batsmen are looking ways to scoring runs and taking undue risks, so they'll get wickets. So that is one of the reasons why I feel that the young spinners don't have a good action. They have an open-chested action because they are looking to impress to get into the IPLs of this world or at that level of the game. And they are not looking to really become high quality spinners. In case of Nathan Lyon, I think Australia still has got a lot of the traditional stuff, which I think is great. And I think we have, but it is hidden. I think we need to unearth that. We need to put it in the heads of the youngsters that if you want to really become a master of your game, then you need to persist on those levels. So that's why probably Nathan Lyon realizes that he would rather play the proper game and become better at his strong point.
Or is that also the reason why he's such a good test match bowler, but he doesn't play one-day cricket or white ball cricket anywhere except for BBL? Because as you said, what he does is very good for red ball cricket. It is very good for the day's variety where he can literally price out wickets. But the same Nathan Lyon, who should be, in my opinion, be used in white ball cricket, in one-day cricket, because the middle overs you need wickets, is not used by Australia. So do you feel that that is one thing which you also need to adapt with regards to the modern day demands?
Okay, it's a great point you made. Look at this. For most of the bowlers today, they are struggling to bowl 20, 30 overs in a proper game. And that also without getting injured. You see many injuries because their muscles are trained to bowl a few number of overs. When they're asked to bowl a lot more, I find the hip injury, the shoulder or the different kinds of injury. That is because the bowling muscles do not have the stamina to bowl longer periods of spells. And that's what, with Nathan Lyon, I find that they could easily play him in the one day as well. And I want to talk back to you on the issue of the white ball and the red ball. To me, ball is a ball. I So I'm just to give you a personal example, because this is what happened. White ball was introduced during our time. I remember playing with white ball in Australia and even in England earlier then. And I just got the ball and you feel it's a cricket ball. I was doing exactly the same thing without thinking it's a white ball or a red ball, only because your function has to be the same. You cannot change your function as a bowler because of the color of the ball or of the tanning of the ball. Of course, we realize that there is some difference, but that difference has to be adjusted mentally and not really be true. Today, there is too much talk about white ball bowlers versus the pink ball bowlers or the red ball bowlers. I would suggest that a good bowler is going to adjust in any condition, like a top batsman. In my view, a top-class test cricketer should be able to adjust the gears and change the gears in any format he is asked to perform.
Yeah.
Whether he is willing mentally to do it or not is another story, but he has the ability to do that. Do I answer your questions?
Yeah, you do. And also one more thing, Dilip bhai, which I want to put across to you is that we play with different balls in different countries. So England, Dukes is used. India, I know that you guys used to play with that Sonics and even harder balls, which were tough to bowl with. I don't know how you spinners even got wickets with that. It just used to slide off the ball. It was akin to playing with the wet ball. Obviously, Kookaburra is such a different ball. Kookaburra red ball is so different to a Kookaburra white ball. Okay. And even the Kookaburra white ball used to swing a lot before, doesn't swing that much. So the bowlers have had to change, and I'm completely with you on it. But for me, 100%, this is something which I've been constantly saying across time, that possibly the coaching methodology has changed. Possibly the mindset of the young kids is to play white ball cricket. So you learn only darting the ball. And as you said, once you learn bowling this way, your mechanics are learned that way, to flight the ball, to spin the ball, then you can bowl quick and you can change your pace at will. But if you have only learned to bowl darts, then when people say, oh, I'm slowing the ball in the air, slowing the ball in the air doesn't mean spinning the ball in the air. And that's where your famous statement, tossing and flighting are a world apart. And I think I would want you to explain that over here.
Yeah. In my view, when you actually give it a rip, you are propelling a spinning ball. You're propelling. Because, you know, all the kids who have played with, these days they don't do. You know, when we grew up, we were playing with tops. Lattu jo bolte hai India mein. So what we used to do is, we would tie a string, and when you want to do, you have to do this to make it spin.
Yeah.
Bowling is much of the same. You have to use your wrist. Your wrist has to be flexible. You have to give it a rip. And now what happens is, with this kind of practice, the modern coaches are also byproduct of the one-day games.
Yeah.
So when a youngster comes to them as a spinner and they want instant success, the coaches as well as the players, and the instant success or gratification is easily possible in the limited over games, be it T20 or so. So what happens is that you build a ceiling already on your head. So there is a level of ceiling, you go up to 220. A little higher is ODI. And a far higher ceiling is the proper game, first class test cricket, where you want to excel, longer format. And this is where we are talking about. So it depends on what your aim is. Where do you want to reach? Now, when we talk about flighting and tossing the ball, when you propel a spinning ball, it is a natural art. Because nowhere you can spin the ball and pitch it without an arc. And that is flighting. So good flighting with spin is a quick arm action. You can't slow your arm action. The moment you slow your arm action and you don't tweak the ball, it is tossing. And when you toss the ball, people with good footwork have ample time to play the way they want. And also the ball can be played with the back foot if it didn't pitch in the right area. I've seen these things happen for years and years. When people get carried away with what is tossing the ball, the opposition batsmen have a piece, believe me or not.
So you feel that you cannot toss the ball up by spinning it? Is that what you
No,
say?
you cannot, no. So what you do is, if you want to flight the ball, why would you toss the ball? You want the batsman to hit you, or you want him to come out? That's the question I have. Generally, why would you invite a batsman to come out and hit you? You just do it. Batsman has to find various ways to score runs. See, runs are like a supply of oxygen. You got to squeeze the batsman, and squeezing a high quality batsman and depriving him of runs is a far more challenging job than people do realize it is. You've got to be really on your toes and got to be very much control of length and line and the flight to control a batsman. So the talk about flighting and tossing the ball or inviting people to hit you, they do anyway. When you're tied up a batsman, he has to find ways to do it. So I think there is a little bit of more old kind of romance, which probably used to happen in 1930s, when you found that the people below 7 or 8 would come out and the bowlers would toss the ball, they would play cross-batted shots and people would get stumped or caught somewhere. That game has changed so much. Even during my times when I played, you couldn't toss a ball in league cricket, you would be out of the park. You had to flight the ball, and the flighting is an art. I'll just tell you one thing, allow me to say it. Your arm, this is 12 o'clock when you deliver the ball. The moment you deliver the ball slightly down, in your clock it is 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
When you bowl from 1 o'clock, the ball has to go down. It cannot be flighted. It cannot have a flight, natural flight. When you bowl from 12 o'clock, the ball will, and now you want to make the change in the flight, you bowl from 11:30, slightly earlier. When you bowl slightly earlier, but you have to bowl the ball, you don't toss it. The ball comes hanging. So that's something you develop by playing the game, practicing. When the people say it was bowled with a full action, but a shade earlier. So that's what you mean. These are the technicalities of spin bowling, which is very boring for everybody. But I'm saying to you, these are the nuances. So this is 12 o'clock.
It's not at all boring, Dilip, because you know what? This is what people want to hear. People want to, so many young kids are trying to figure out what needs to be. And since you mentioned this, would you say that 12 o'clock was your ideal position for you to release the ball? Because many others feel 1 o'clock was their ideal position to release the ball.
I think between 11 and 12 is your ideal. So if I show you by the finger, this is 12 o'clock. The moment it goes here, you find that the ball cannot be in the air. So if you bowl between 11 and 12, that's the right ideal. And this you cannot think before a ball that I'm going to bowl from there. Automatically, your mind, psychologically, you adjust because of the pitch, because of the way the batsman is behaving. You don't have to think before when you are at the top of your arm. Now I'm going to bowl at 11:30. No, it automatically you adjust. This is mental and psychological, looking at the batsman use his feet, understanding the pitch. It helped you more if you were bowling a little from which angle, So I think that's why you got to become a student of the game to become a good spinner.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Coming back to your own life journey, and I mentioned those 10 years where you had to ply your trade. And you mentioned that everything was delayed for you, starting from university cricket, first-class cricket, and so was international cricket. 10 years of plugging away. County cricket happened, which you said you were lucky that in spite of not having played for the country, people still saw the merit and you were able to play with some of the best over there. What kept you going? I know obviously it has to be the romance and the love for the game and to bowl. But still, you said that you set out to play for India. And that deep-rooted conviction to somebody testing you for 10 long years, that must be tough.
Yes, it was tough in a way that you felt frustrated at times, but I really have a great belief in myself, because when I'm playing against the best players in the world in English county system, and even in India when I played, I was getting a lot of the best players out in a more positive manner rather than being slogged all over the park and getting caught a long on. So once you do that, you feel that you are in the right area. Then you have to wait for the opportunities. It's not necessary because you're good enough, you're going to get a breakthrough. You require some luck and change of circumstances. So I think the belief in myself, and there were a lot of good critics in England who appreciated this, and they ranked me very high even before I played Test cricket. So you do realize that you are in the right zone. And long time back, somebody had asked me, and I said, look, I think I have a great faith in myself. I enjoy what I was doing. I knew there is no guarantee where you're going to go.
Correct.
There was no guarantee that you would play. But when the call came, it was unbelievably a moment that you had waited for all those years.
32.
Yeah.
And that is sometimes when people say spinners mature late. And we've had this chat about it. The man who replaced you was Maninder Singh, was prodigious, was very good, but he feels that he got it too early. So would you feel that you got it slightly late, slightly early? What is your belief system with regards to blooding in spinners? Because Mani, we have definitely felt that he should have played 2-3 years of first-class cricket, understanding the pitfalls of spin bowling, and so did LS, Laxman Sivaramakrishnan as well. So what are your thoughts on that?
First of all, I think those two bowlers, Maninder and LS, Laxman Sivaramakrishnan, they were outstanding young bowlers when they emerged on the first-class scene. The reason why they were pitchforked into Indian team in a rush was more political rather than cricketing. And there was quite, you see what happens is when I made my debut at 32, there were a lot of unhappy faces. There were a lot of nasty comments in the press. And you had to be turning a blind eye and deaf ear to all that. So I was on a journey and I had to go irrespective of that. Those are sad things, because I think people must realize that, you know, sometimes you get the due, and instead of being able to appreciate, there were nasty comments. So what happened was really, like Shastri was pitchforked very early, you know, just to put a lot of pressure on me, unfortunately. And instead of allowing me the freedom and enjoying what I was able to do for India, and we were winning games. So it was not that we were losing and failing. So Mani and Maninder and LS were pitchforked too early. I wish, in a way, I always believed that they could have played a little longer first-class cricket. The time was on the side. And I think it didn't help them settle down for too long. They got confused and they went through a lot of emotional turbulence in those days. And I remember reading it. And so did I, because I felt I was deprived of being deprived deliberately, because people's vested interest in the politicking manner. And that's sad. And I'm so glad that that doesn't happen in Indian cricket anymore. There is a lot more transparency. There is answerability today, accountability, which in our days was sadly absent. At 32, I didn't think that I was 32. I was just playing. I never get up every morning and say, today I'm this years old or that years old. And in those days, I know that people were considered old by the time they were 28, 29. But that's a different phenomenon.
32 to 37 possibly is the time you played for India, Dilip bhai?
No.
No?
No, not at all.
83?
In fact, 83, was
Yeah.
my comeback. So let's put it like this, okay? I played non-stop from 1979 September, my first test at Chipok against Australia,
Yeah.
till
Where you got eight wickets, 6 and 2 straight away.
yes, yes, I really, Madras or Chennai, whichever you call it, was one of my most favorite grounds along with Mumbai. But no, to say that I had a very good run um, with some hiccups all the way, because that is the nature of political cricket in India, unfortunately. But then later on, I felt that I was being interrupted too often. And like Ravi Shastri was brought in, and then immediately on top of that, the others were brought in. So that made you realize that you're unwanted. And that's not good for Indian cricket, in my view, because all these kind of things are not ready-made. You cannot enter a slot of somebody who has worked for it, who has earned his place. And it's not like being in a corporate company, you replace a managing director and somebody can put his arm around and teach him. This is international sport, is a very cruel place.
Yeah. So would you say 36? For 4 years, you had a good run?
Yeah. I think I was able to play 35 past. And then my last game was against Pakistan, Zaire Abbas's team at Bangalore, when I was recalled. Because I was dropped for the previous tour, India West Indies, in '83, where the other spinners went. Venkat went, LS went, Ravi went, Maninder went. And you just compare this with the previous times. When the 4 Indian spinners, you asked me about that, so this is the time to explain. Whether India won or lost, they were permanent fixtures. And I felt that was sad, because there was, I'll tell you, I feel very sad for Paddy Shivalkar. Padmakar Shivalkar was an outstanding bowler for any generation. He would have walked into any international team, and he could have even played earlier, even before me, I don't know, or maybe whatever. I'm just giving you an example. Irrespective of India's winning or losing, these 4 bowlers were permanent fixtures, which I felt was not good for Indian cricket from the point of view of a good message to the people and the team and the youngsters. Even budding fast bowlers who were required to win games when the tailenders got stuck in against our spinners. And they drew the game which we should have won, because we didn't have firepower. So looking at that, contrast this to an established duo of Kapil and myself winning some games for India, and suddenly 4 more spinners are breathing on our neck. And they are youngsters who really need to play the game properly before they mature.
Yeah.
So that's where I feel that Maninder and LS did not get the full value of their talent.
Yeah, possibly that's what they feel as well. It's got nothing to do with you. It's just that they cannot, they were brought in when they were brought in. But you're right, if you had been allowed to play a few more years the way you wanted, yeah, you were 36, 37, and again, I think that is one thing which goes into the Indian psyche, or just the psyche of selectors across the world, that, oh, he's 36, he's 37, so we need to find a replacement, rather than saying that he is good enough to still play, and the man to replace him, is he good enough to replace him? So as you said, if they had been allowed 2 more years to play their first-class cricket and hone their skills and hone their mentality, possibly they would have played for India much longer. LS and Mani both were outstanding.
No doubt about that. This is where, see, we mentioned the age. I think the most important thing in my particular case was not necessarily that was being used to get me out of the team. But that's fine. That's history. I have no regrets anymore. It just happened. I'm happy that I was able to play and prove a point. But the age should not be a criteria. is how good you are. Are you able to produce the goods on the field that is expected of you? And a youngster, only because of the virtue of his age, is he good enough to play at that level right at that moment? Or should he wait and hone his talent and develop his temperament better? Because Indian cricket in those days was a very tough area to hone and develop your skills. And we had outstanding young spinners or bowlers who didn't play for India.
Yep. Your numbers are ridiculous. I've looked at them, and you said that when I used to come back and play first class cricket, I used to get lots of wickets. I don't know whether you know them. That you used to get, you've got what, 300 and something first class, 318 or 320 Ranji Trophy wickets at 18, which is just ridiculous. This is just silly. Even in county cricket, where the good spinners in county cricket get wickets at an average of 32, Dilip bhai, you average around 24 something, or even Bishan Paji is around the same. So would you say that county cricket helped you a lot, because your record as an international bowler in Australia is outstanding, in England is outstanding. So would you say that county cricket honed those skills for you?
Absolutely. I owe a lot to English cricket. The English cricket system is a very fair cricket system. Obviously, you will find some unhappiness anywhere if you want to.